don't take any risks. Seek expert advice.
Probably the best way for workplace managers to identify the asbestos materials which are present in their property is to actually have a survey done. A survey involves visiting all areas of a property and conducting really a thorough investigation of whatever materials may be present.
Once a sample of the suspect material has been collected by a competent person, you then have the problem of safely transporting it to a laboratory which is qualified to analyse it.
Taking the product off-site, people throw it in the back seat of their car and handle it themselves, and then they go home to their wives and families and they don't realise that they've got this asbestos dust on them. They know that it's potentially an asbestos material, but still today there's a lot of people in our industry that don't take it seriously, don't handle it correctly, and yes, that is a very big issue.
Because it is potentially hazardous, you can't just pop it in a jiffy bag and put it into a letterbox. The only legal way to send a sample in the post is to use the patented asbestos postal kit produced by Square Root.
There's a clear advantage in building managers or site managers having a postal kit handy because it can be used very quickly in a very straightforward way and as I've said before, can actually resolve a potentially time-wasting situation very, very quickly.
There are occasions when it appears when we don't expect it to. I mean, we had, for instance, where an old air conditioning unit had a very small gasket in there that was asbestos. We had to analyse it, we've sealed the area off, but we were surprised, that there are occasions that does happen.
At the moment we're refurbishing these offices. It was one large room, but we had a problem with asbestos. All of these beams had remains where it had been stripped out at one time, but it hadn't been done properly. Guy came along, took some samples, and we put it in a postal kit, which Square Root provide, and posted it back to the laboratories and got a result within 24 hours.
Don't forget that asbestos is now tightly regulated. You should be aware of the requirements of the Control of Asbestos and Work Regulations 1987, the Asbestos Licensing Regulations 1983, the Construction, Design and Management Regulations 1994, and of course the Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulations. There are many excellent leaflets which summarise the regulations, so there is no excuse for not knowing what to do.
The regulations, I believe, specifically point out that the product must not be disturbed in any way, and that means if you're drilling into the product to get a screw fixing for some conduit or some cable ducting or something, then you should stop. There's no need to take these risks.
Because of the risk and the unknown risk and trying to decide, well, how much asbestos is going to kill you, basically, which is an unknown quantity from my point of view, we have to treat all cases seriously. And then when we've got the results from analysis, we can then decide what action to take. And it may be that we don't need to seal the area off for very long. That's why the time in which the analysis takes is very important.
In the last 3 weeks we've had 2 instances, so it's fairly common. I would say we probably have 25 to 30 instances a year of products that do actually turn out to be asbestos-based, and probably another 20 or 30 where there was a genuine risk of it, but fortunately it wasn't the case. So it's very, very common.
If you or your staff do have to work on materials containing asbestos, you must make sure they know they're working with asbestos and what precautions they should take. Make sure they do keep unnecessary personnel out of the work area. Take care not to create dust. Keep the material wet whenever possible. Wear a suitable respirator and protective clothing. And finally, clean up with a vacuum cleaner which complies with BS 5415 Type H. Make sure they don't break up large pieces of asbestos materials. Use power tools, they create more dust. Expose other workers who are not protected. And don't take protective clothing home to wash.
Nowadays, with everybody being sued for everything, local authorities have a liability, and you as a person have individual liabilities if you are responsible for that function.
It's a bit of an issue. I think really it comes down to the management before the project starts to do, if the building hasn't got an asbestos register, is to do a good visual inspection of anywhere that the guys will be working. Because at the end of the day, it's a very serious health issue and a very serious legal issue.
The tradesmen will tend to be, if they're subcontract or one-man bands, will tend to be working to a price. And the danger is that they'll come across something that they may suspect to be asbestos, but because of the inconvenience, stopping, coming off site, losing money, whatever, they may be tempted just to throw it. That not only causes them a risk, but could put other people at risk and add to any contamination, because when that skip load of stuff is dumped on a site, we've then got a contaminated site. So I think that is an area where tradesmen need to be made aware of the risk of even a small bit of asbestos being put into the wrong place.
Predominantly, in our experience, asbestos is used for cladding of pipework, soil pipes, internal pipes. Also, it's been used as lagging for buildings. We've even come across lino floor tiles that are made of asbestos, windowsill boards made of asbestos. So it's really in an awful lot of guises. So you've just got to be extra careful.
Because it was seen as being so versatile, asbestos was used in many applications and comes in many guises. So if you're involved with commissioning or carrying out plumbing, electrical work, computer or telephone cabling, building work, demolition, or even simple decorating, you could find yourself facing a hidden hazard. Asbestos hasn't gone away, it's still there. So don't take risks, be aware, be asbestos aware.